The blue waters of the Pacific Ocean sparkled under the morning sun. On the bridge of the U.S. Intrepid, Captain Daniel Wright lowered his binoculars and frowned. A strange light hovered above the horizon, growing larger by the minute. "Lieutenant Miller, what do you make of that?" he asked. Susan Miller adjusted the ship's radar equipment. "Sir, it's not showing up on any of our systems. Whatever it is, it's using technology we've never seen." The crew watched in silence as the light transformed into a sleek silver vessel 3 times the size of their naval destroyer. It moved without sound, without disturbing the air or water around it. "All hands to battle stations," Captain Wright ordered calmly. "But no one fires without my command." The alien ship stopped 50 yards from the Intrepid. Its smooth surface rippled, and a portion melted away to reveal a chamber within. 3 figures emerged and floated down to hover just above the water surface. The beings stood 7 feet tall with slender bodies covered in pale blue scales. Their eyes were large and black, containing no visible pupils. Each had 6 long fingers on their hands and wore shimmering suits that seemed to change color with every movement. Captain Wright grabbed a megaphone. "This is Captain Daniel Wright of the United States Navy. Identify yourselves and state your purpose." One of the aliens stepped forward, its head tilted, studying the humans. When it spoke, the sound came not through the air, but directly into their minds. "We are the advanced diplomatic contingent of the Galactic Council. We have been observing your world for some time. Your species has reached the threshold for first contact." The crew members clutched their heads, unprepared for the mental invasion. Lieutenant Miller grabbed the rail to steady herself. "Captain, they're scanning our thoughts," she whispered urgently. "I can feel them digging through my memories." Wright felt it too, a cold presence sifting through his mind like fingers through sand. "Stop this immediately," he demanded. "Communication must be consensual." The aliens did not comply. Instead, the lead diplomat floated closer. "Your species is fractured. Many governments, many languages. We require a unified representative. Your mind will help us determine the appropriate authority." The pressure in Wright's head intensified. Behind him, several crew members fell to their knees in pain. "Last warning," Wright called out. "Withdraw from our minds now." When the aliens continued their mental probe, Wright nodded to Lieutenant Miller. She fired a single warning shot that splashed into the water 10 feet from the aliens. The effect was immediate. The aliens recoiled, their mental presence vanishing. The diplomat's voice rang out, now transmitted through the air rather than telepathically. "This is an act of aggression against the Galactic Council. We offered communion, and you respond with weapons." Captain Wright stood firm. "On Earth, entering someone's mind without permission is the aggression. We welcome peaceful dialogue, but on equal terms." The aliens conferred among themselves, their movements agitated. Finally, the diplomat addressed the humans again. "Your primitive understanding is disappointing. The Council will be informed of your violent tendencies. Further contact will be reconsidered." With that, the 3 aliens rose swiftly back to their ship. The vessel sealed itself and shot upward, disappearing into the sky within seconds. Captain Wright immediately contacted Naval Command. Within hours, the news of first contact spread worldwide. Governments called emergency sessions. Military forces went on high alert. Scientists analyzed the limited data collected during the encounter. In the White House Situation Room, President Allison Carter listened to Captain Wright's report with a grim expression. "So they tried to read your minds without consent, then got offended when you objected?" she asked. "Yes, Madam President. They seemed genuinely surprised by our resistance." President Carter looked around the room at her advisors. "If that's how the Galactic Council begins diplomatic relations, I'm concerned about what follows. We need to prepare for all possibilities." As night fell across Earth, millions looked up at the stars with new understanding. Humanity was not alone, but their first meeting with galactic neighbors had gone very wrong. Nobody knew what would happen next, but one thing was certain: Earth would not submit to telepathic invasion or intimidation. The Galactic Council was about to learn that humans had their own way of handling interstellar relations. The space station Harmony hung like a glittering wheel against the darkness of space. Inside the Grand Chamber, representatives from 27 alien species sat in a semicircle of raised platforms. The air buzzed with tension as the diplomatic team gave their report on the Earth encounter. Ambassador Xeroth of the Valorian species rose from his seat. His tall, willowy body swayed slightly as he addressed the council. The silver patterns on his purple skin flashed with emotion. "Esteemed colleagues," he said, his voice melodic and calm, "we must consider that our approach to the humans was flawed. Telepathic scanning without consent is viewed as a violation in their culture." High Commander Zalek slammed his armored fist onto the table. The massive Cracksun warrior's red eyes narrowed to slits beneath his bony forehead ridge. "Weak excuses," Zalek growled. "They are barely out of their Stone Age. Their first response to advanced beings was to use weapons. They should be grateful we even considered them worthy of contact." The council chamber erupted into loud debates. Some species sided with Xeroth's call for patience, while others agreed with Zalek's push for force. Council Chair Thoven, an ancient being with translucent skin revealing the complex network of light within, raised a hand for silence. "Let us hear from our research team," Thoven said. Scientist-diplomat Ilara has studied Earth transmissions for decades. Ilara of the Celesti species stepped forward. She appeared almost human except for her silver eyes and the faint blue glow emanating from beneath her skin. "Humans are unique," she began, her voice soft, but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "They advanced from simple tools to space travel in mere thousands of years, while most species took tens of thousands." She waved her hand, and a holographic display appeared, showing Earth's history. "They are paradoxical beings. They waged terrible wars among themselves, yet risked their lives to save strangers. They create beautiful art alongside devastating weapons. Most importantly, they adapt faster than any species we have encountered." Ilara paused, looking directly at Zalek. "The sample ship we sent was observed for less than 6 hours. In that time, humans began analyzing its flight patterns and energy signatures. They are already attempting to adapt our technology." Murmurs spread through the chamber. Trade Minister Krell of the Oran Collective leaned forward, his green skin wrinkling with concern. "What are you suggesting, Ilara?" he asked. "I am suggesting that forcing humans to submit would be costly, perhaps impossible. They do not think like us. When threatened, they become more innovative, not less." High Commander Zalek scoffed. "My fleet could reduce their cities to ash before they could respond." "Perhaps," Ilara replied calmly. "But would you find all humans? They have already built underground facilities and have contingency plans for extinction-level events. Some would survive, adapt, and eventually seek revenge." Council Chair Thoven considered this information in silence before speaking. "We will send a second diplomatic mission," Thoven decided. "This time, with clear communication protocols respecting human customs. We will not attempt telepathic links without permission." Zalek stood abruptly. "This is absurd. We do not bend to primitive species. The Cracksun Empire did not join this council to coddle lesser beings." Ambassador Xeroth's voice cut through Zalek's outburst. "Need I remind the High Commander that it was the Council's intervention that saved the Cracksun from self-destruction 3 centuries ago? Perhaps some humility would serve you well." Zalek's hand moved to his weapon, but Council guards stepped forward, their energy staves humming with power. "Enough," Thoven declared. "The decision is made. Ambassador Xeroth will lead the next mission to Earth." As the council session ended, Ilara approached Xeroth privately. "There is more you should know," she whispered. "Our deep scans show that humans are the only species in known space who evolved without genetic manipulation by the precursors." Xeroth's eyes widened. "Truly natural evolution. That would explain their unpredictability." "Yes," Ilara nodded. "And it makes them dangerous, or potentially invaluable allies. Zalek knows this too. Watch your back, Ambassador. Unknown to the Council, a Kraksun spy drone had already departed for Earth, carrying instructions that would ensure the second diplomatic mission never arrived. Rain pattered against the windows of the White House as President Allison Carter studied the satellite images spread across the conference table. Dark circles under her eyes revealed she had barely slept since the alien encounter 3 days ago. "What am I looking at, Secretary Martinez?" she asked. Defense Secretary George Martinez pointed to the blurry photos showing strange objects in Earth orbit. "These appeared 6 hours ago, Madam President. We believe they're alien surveillance devices." The room fell silent. Around the table sat the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the National Security Advisor, and several scientists hastily assembled from various agencies. "So they're watching us," President Carter said. "What else do we know about these visitors?" Dr. Laura Phillips, a linguist with graying hair pulled into a tight bun, cleared her throat. "Based on Captain Wright's report and the brief communication, we can determine they're part of a larger political body, this Galactic Council. They seem surprised by our resistance to their telepathic approach, almost offended," added Admiral Frank Nelson, a tall man with weathered features, like a parent whose child talked back. President Carter tapped her pen against the table. "I don't like that comparison, Admiral. We are not children." "No, ma'am," Nelson agreed. "And we're not defenseless either." He slid a folder marked Top Secret across the table. "Project Guardian. We've been reverse engineering technology from crashed objects found in the New Mexico desert since 1947. The president's eyebrows shot up. "You're telling me Roswell was real?" "Yes, ma'am. Not a full ship, just fragments, but enough to develop some defensive capabilities. We've kept it quiet, making it look like normal military advancement." General William Davis, a broad-shouldered man with a stern expression, spoke next. "Madam President, we need to coordinate with other nations. Russia, China, the European Union. They all reported similar encounters in their territories. The United Nations Security Council is meeting in 1 hour," the President said. "I need our position clear before then." Dr. Phillips leaned forward. "Madam President, I believe genuine communication is possible. We should try to understand their culture before assuming hostile intent." Secretary Martinez shook his head. "With all due respect, Dr. Phillips, we have evidence these aliens have subjugated other civilizations. Look at these intercepted transmissions." He played a recording of strange signals. "Our computers decoded parts of it, references to integration and compliance protocols for dealing with new species." Admiral Nelson nodded grimly. "The timing matters too. They arrived just weeks after our fusion breakthrough. They're here because we're advancing too quickly." President Carter stood and walked to the window, watching the rain. "I want options that keep Earth safe without starting a war we can't win." "We have one card to play," General Davis said. "They clearly want something from us, likely resources or our strategic position. If we make diplomatic engagement too costly, they might reconsider." "A united front," the President murmured. "All Earth nations speaking with one voice." 3 hours later, at the United Nations, representatives from every country gathered in emergency session. Despite their many differences, fear had created an unusual unity. President Carter addressed them from the podium. "Today, humanity faces its greatest challenge. An alien power has attempted to make contact through force rather than respect. Evidence suggests they may have hostile intentions." She paused, looking across the chamber. "I propose we send a unified message. Earth will not entertain any diplomatic overtures until the Council agrees to specific terms. No telepathic intrusions, no military presence in our solar system, and recognition of Earth's sovereignty." The vote was unanimous. For the first time in history, all nations agreed on a single approach. As the session ended, President Carter pulled General Davis aside. "That secret project you mentioned, can it be ready if they don't accept our terms?" Yes, Madam President. Operation Starshield is already mobilizing. We have facilities on the far side of the moon that the Council doesn't know about. Good, the President replied, because something tells me we're going to need it. In orbit above Earth, a Kraxun spy drone recorded everything and prepared to transmit back to High Commander Zalek. The humans had just played directly into his hands. The Grand Chamber of Harmony Station erupted into chaos. Council representatives shouted over each other, some standing on their platforms, others sending holographic displays of Earth's message floating through the air. Council Chair Thoven struck the ancient resonance gong. Its deep vibration silenced the chamber. "We will have order," Thoven said. The light patterns beneath their translucent skin pulsed with irritation. "The human response has been delivered. We must decide how to proceed." The human demands floated in the center of the chamber. 1. No telepathic contact without consent. 2. Removal of all monitoring devices from Earth's solar system. 3. Recognition of Earth as a sovereign entity with full rights. 4. All future contact to be conducted with transparent protocols. Trade Minister Krell's antennae twitched excitedly. This is unprecedented. No newly discovered species has ever made demands of the Council. High Commander Zalek snorted, hot air shooting from the vents in his neck. Because they know better. This insolence cannot stand. Ambassador Xeroth moved gracefully to the speaking platform. Perhaps we should consider compliance. The humans ask only for basic respect, something we grant established members. Respect is earned. Zalek slammed his armored fist down. The Kraxun Empire spent 3 centuries proving our worth to the Council. These humans expected after firing weapons at our diplomats. Several representatives from the Outer Rim planets rose in support of Sereth. The Pluridian Alliance withdraws support for unified action against Earth, announced their ambassador, a floating cloud of blue particles that shifted into a vaguely humanoid shape. We have studied human transmissions. Their creativity is fascinating. The Mendari Collective also withdraws, added another representative, her insectoid features clicking with determination. Human unpredictability suggests they would be costly to subdue. One by one, 7 more species stood to withdraw their support. Zalek's red eyes narrowed to dangerous slits. Cowards, you fear what you do not understand. Krell moved forward, his green skin glittering with embedded data crystals. It is not fear, but opportunity I see. Human markets could bring fresh resources to our trade networks. Their unique perspective might solve problems that have puzzled us for millennia. You would trade with animals. Zalek's voice dropped dangerously low. They are not animals, scientist diplomat Ilara interjected. My research confirms they are the only known species to achieve space travel through natural evolution, without precursor manipulation. A shocked murmur ran through the chamber. Council Chair Thoven raised their hands for silence. We will vote on accepting the human terms. Before the vote could begin, Zalek moved with shocking speed. He drew a hidden energy weapon and fired at Thoven. The council chair collapsed as security forces rushed forward. The era of appeasement ends today. Zalek roared. The Kraxun Empire claims leadership of the council by right of strength. Kraxun warriors emerged from hidden compartments around the chamber, weapons raised. Several council members fell before they could react. Ambassador Xeroth dove behind a pillar as energy blasts scorched the wall beside him. He activated his emergency transport beacon and slipped through a maintenance corridor. Ilara, he called, seeing the scientist hiding behind an overturned table. She crawled toward him, clutching a data crystal. Take this. It contains everything we know about humans. They must be warned. A Kraxun warrior spotted them and raised his weapon. Ilara pushed Xeroth through the doorway and sealed it, just as the blast struck her. Xeroth ran through the corridors, pursued by warriors. He reached his personal vessel and launched, narrowly escaping the station's docking clamps. As his ship accelerated away from Harmony, he set course for Earth. Behind him, Harmony Station's communication array sent messages to all corners of the galaxy. The Council was now under Kraxon control. All species were ordered to provide troops for the coming conquest of Earth. But not everyone received these orders. Across the galaxy, ships from 9 species changed course, heading for secret meeting coordinates. The Council had fractured into 3 distinct groups. The Kraxon-led Conquest faction, the pro-human alliance forming in secret, and the neutral species hoping to avoid the coming conflict. As Skyroth's ship entered hyperspace, he clutched Ilara's data crystal. "Hold on, humans," he whispered. "Help is coming, if I can reach you in time." Captain Patricia Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the U.S. Defender, the newest and most advanced ship in Earth's rapidly growing space fleet. Through the view screen, she watched as a small alien craft tumbled toward Earth, trailing smoke and debris. "Weapons locked, Captain," reported her tactical officer. "One life sign aboard." "Hold fire," Rodriguez ordered. "That's not a Kraxon design." During the 2 weeks since Earth's ultimatum, human intelligence had learned to identify various alien ship types from intercepted transmissions. "The vessel is hailing us," said Communications Officer Ryan Kelly. "Audio only." Rodriguez nodded. "Put it through." A strained voice filled the bridge. "Earth vessel. Ambassador Xeroth of Valorian, seeking asylum. Council, fallen. Kraxon coup. Warning." The transmission cut out as the alien ship shuddered violently. Rodriguez made her decision. "Bring that ship into Bay 3. Full quarantine protocols, and get Dr. Johnson up here immediately." 30 minutes later, Rodriguez stood outside the quarantine chamber where medical teams worked to stabilize the injured alien. Dr. Eric Johnson, Earth's leading xenobiologist, studied readings on his tablet. "Fascinating physiology," Johnson murmured. "Oxygen breather, but requires different atmospheric pressure. We've adjusted the chamber accordingly." "Is he going to make it?" Rodriguez asked. "I believe so. Their healing capability is remarkable." Behind the transparent barrier, Ambassador Xeroth's eyes fluttered open. The silver patterns on his purple skin pulsed weakly. He gestured for them to approach. Rodriguez entered through the airlock with Dr. Johnson. The alien's voice was soft but clear. "Thank you for saving me. There isn't much time. High Commander Zalek has taken control of the Council by force. His fleet is already on its way to Earth." "Why tell us this?" Rodriguez asked. "You could have fled anywhere." Xeroth tried to sit up but winced in pain. "Because humans are unique in all the galaxy. You evolved naturally without interference." Dr. Johnson looked confused. "What do you mean?" "The precursors, an ancient race that disappeared millions of years ago, engineered most intelligent species, including Valorians. They shaped our development, our thinking. But humans, you were overlooked or deliberately left alone." Xeroth handed them a small crystal. "This contains all our data on Kraxon weaknesses. Their neural implants are vulnerable to specific frequencies. Their shields cannot withstand rapid temperature fluctuations." Rodriguez took the crystal cautiously. "Why help us?" "Because your independent evolution has given you unique cognitive abilities. You think differently. You adapt faster. You see solutions where we see only problems." Xeroth's voice grew stronger. Many Council species recognized this. They wanted alliance, not conquest. Dr. Johnson studied the alien with growing excitement. "That's why the telepathic contact failed. Our brains are structured differently." "Precisely." Xeroth nodded. "The Kraxon fear this difference. They believe all species should follow predetermined paths. Your unpredictability threatens their worldview." Rodriguez's communication device buzzed. "Captain, urgent message from command. Multiple hyperspatial distortions detected at the edge of the solar system. A fleet is incoming." "Zalek," Xeroth whispered. "Sooner than I feared." Rodriguez stood. "I need to report this to President Carter immediately." "Dr. Johnson, Work with Ambassador Xeroth on adapting this information to our defense systems. As Rodriguez hurried from the chamber, Dr. Johnson connected the crystal to his tablet. Complex schematics of Craxon ships and weapons appeared. This could save millions of lives, Johnson said. Xeroth placed a six-fingered hand on Johnson's arm. If we succeed, it will save billions across the galaxy. Zalek plans to use Earth as an example, then subjugate all who opposed him. Johnson looked at the approaching alien fleet on his tablet screen. We have 5 hours before they enter weapons range. Then we have 5 hours to create a miracle, Xeroth replied. On the bridge, Captain Rodriguez opened a secure channel to Earth. Madam President, we have both bad news and good news. The bad news, we're about to be invaded. The good news, we have our first alien ally, and he's brought us the enemy's playbook. General William Davis watched from the hidden Lunar Command Center as the Craxon fleet entered Earth's orbit. 70 massive warships formed a ring around the planet, their weapon ports glowing with energy. All stations report ready, sir, his aide announced. Davis nodded grimly. Commence Operation Starshield. Across the solar system, concealed human installations activated. On Mars, asteroid bases, and hidden orbital platforms, weapon systems powered up. Technology reverse-engineered from alien artifacts and enhanced by human innovation. High Commander Zalek's face appeared on the main screen, his red eyes burning with confidence. People of Earth, he began, your defiance ends today. The Galactic Council requires your immediate surrender. Resistance will be met with planetary bombardment. President Carter responded from her emergency bunker. Earth does not recognize your authority, Commander. The legitimate council members have already warned us of your coup. Zalek's expression shifted to surprise, then rage. You have been missiled. Surrender now or... The transmission cut as General Davis activated the first phase of Earth's defense. Dozens of small stealth satellites released electromagnetic pulses, temporarily disabling communication between Craxon ships. Launch all squadrons, Davis ordered. From the lunar surface and Mars orbit, hundreds of fighters emerged. Unlike the bulky alien vessels, Earth's ships were small, fast, and piloted by humans trained through thousands of combat simulations based on Ambassador Xeroth's intelligence. Lieutenant Stephen Grant led Alpha Squadron toward the flagship. Remember the targeting data, he reminded his pilots. Hit the propulsion systems at the exact coordinates. The human fighters swarmed around the massive Craxon vessels. Their small size made them difficult targets for weapons designed to battle large capital ships. Aboard the U.S. Defender, now in Earth orbit, Captain Rodriguez coordinated with Ambassador Xeroth. The disruptor is ready, she reported. Dr. Johnson monitored his equipment nervously. This has to be perfectly timed. When their shields adjust to our weapons, they'll be vulnerable to the frequency pulse for exactly 3.7 seconds. Xeroth nodded. Your pilots must strike in that window. On the main Craxon warship, High Commander Zalek raged at his officers. How are these primitives coordinating such precise attacks? Intensify forward shields. Sir, his second-in-command reported, enemy vessels are targeting shield emitters in an unusual pattern. They know our configurations, Zalek realized. There's a traitor. Reconfigure shield harmonics immediately. Back on Earth, Dr. Johnson watched the readouts carefully. They're changing shield frequencies. Now, Captain Rodriguez gave the order. All ships execute pattern Omega. Every human vessel fired simultaneously at different points on the Craxon ships, forcing their shields to adapt rapidly. At the exact moment, the shield computers began reconfiguration. The U.S. Defender fired a specialized pulse. The effect was immediate. Across the Craxon fleet, neural implants malfunctioned. Warriors screamed as their combat enhancements went haywire, feeding incorrect data to their brains. Lieutenant Grant saw his opportunity. Target the flagship's main reactor. Fire everything. His squadron's missiles struck perfectly. The Kraksun flagship's shields flickered and collapsed. Secondary explosions rippled across its hull. High Commander Zolek staggered to the emergency transport pod as his ship began breaking apart. "This isn't possible," he growled. "They're just humans." On Earth, cities suffered damage from the few weapons that made it through the defenses. Buildings collapsed and fires raged, but the planetary defense grid held against the worst of the bombardment. After 6 hours of intense fighting, the remaining Kraksun ships gathered into formation and jumped to hyperspace, retreating from the solar system. In the Lunar Command Center, exhausted officers cheered. General Davis allowed himself a small smile before calling President Carter. "Madam President, the Kraksun fleet has withdrawn. We've won." "Casualties?" she asked. "Still being assessed. Major damage to orbital installations and several cities. But we held." The president's voice was steady despite her clear exhaustion. "And Commander Zolek escaped in a pod, but his fleet is crippled. They won't be back soon." As Earth began assessing the damage, ships appeared at the edge of the solar system, vessels from the 9 Council species that had opposed Zolek's coup. Ambassador Xeroth watched them approach on the Defender's view screen. "The galaxy will never be the same after this day," he said softly. "Humans have done what no species has done before, stood against the full might of a Kraksun fleet and prevailed." The United Nations Assembly Hall had been rebuilt after the battle, now larger to accommodate the alien representatives. Sunlight streamed through the new glass dome, illuminating the hundreds of delegates from Earth and beyond. 1 month had passed since the Kraksun retreat. Cities were being repaired. The dead had been mourned. Now, humanity prepared to take its place among the stars. President Allison Carter walked to the podium, her steps steady despite the weight of responsibility. The room fell silent. "Today marks a turning point in human history," she began. "We are no longer alone in the universe. Our first steps into the galactic community were difficult, even violent. But from conflict has come opportunity." She gestured to Ambassador Xeroth and representatives from 8 other alien species seated in a special section. "Our allies risked everything to warn us of danger. They recognize what we now understand ourselves, that diversity of thought is not a weakness, but our greatest strength." Screens around the hall displayed images from the battle and the rebuilding efforts that followed. Humans and aliens working side by side to repair what had been broken. The old Galactic Council operated on principles of conformity and hierarchy. President Carter continued. "Today, we propose something different, a galactic alliance founded on mutual respect, sovereignty, and cooperation." She held up a document. "This charter establishes that no species may force its ways upon another. No telepathic contact without consent. No interference in cultural development. No military action except in defense." Ambassador Xeroth rose and joined her at the podium. His once injured body had healed, the silver patterns on his purple skin now bright and vibrant. "For millennia, the Council believed that all intelligent life must follow patterns established by the precursors," he said. "Humans have proven this false. Your unique evolution has given you perspectives that other species cannot imagine. Together, we can build something greater than either of us could alone." In the audience, Dr. Eric Johnson sat beside Captain Patricia Rodriguez, now wearing the formal uniform of Earth's diplomatic corps. "Did you ever imagine this when you were studying biology?" Rodriguez whispered. Johnson shook his head. "Never. But that's what makes it exciting. We're writing the rules of interspecies relations from scratch." The delegates voted on the charter. The agreement was unanimous. The Galactic Alliance would replace the old Council. President Carter made her final announcement. "I am pleased to appoint Captain Patricia Rodriguez as Earth's first ambassador to the Alliance. Her experience with both conflict and cooperation makes her uniquely qualified." Rodriguez stood to applause from humans and aliens alike. She had earned their respect during the battle and the tense negotiations that followed. Later that evening, Ambassador Rodriguez and Ambassador Xeroth stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Earth Embassy, watching ships from dozens of worlds moving through Earth's orbit. The neutral species are requesting to join the alliance, Hezurath said. Even those who stood aside during the conflict now see the benefits of our approach. And the crack sun? Rodriguez asked. Still rebuilding. Without their neural implants, they're learning to think as individuals again. It will take time. But some are already questioning Zolek's leadership. Rodriguez looked out at the stars, now filled with possibility rather than threat. We almost destroyed each other through misunderstanding, she said, if your ship hadn't reached us. But it did, Hezurath replied. Perhaps that's the most important lesson. The universe rewards those who keep communication open, even when it seems impossible. A shuttle approached, carrying delegates from a newly discovered world seeking alliance membership. Their first contact would follow the new protocols, respectful, transparent, and without presumption. Ready for your first official greeting as ambassador? Hezurath asked. Rodriguez straightened her uniform. Absolutely. Let's show them how Earth does diplomacy. As they walked to the reception area, screens throughout the embassy displayed the Alliance's new motto, written in all Earth languages and those of member species. Different minds, shared stars, one future. The humans had refused talks on the old terms, and in doing so, had changed the galaxy forever.